This time on Solitary World, we're going to talk about this preposterous press release that Caron Treatment Center put out back in June. And we're going to talk about NetworkManager, which is a great little program for Linux. Coming up on Solitary World.
Production of Solitary World would not be possible without the generous support of
T&J Global Policy Institute. Richer lives through better policy. Healthcare policy recommendations. Foreign policy recommendations. Education reform alternatives. Immigration policy review and reform. Civil political discourse. T&J Global Policy Institute.
And people like you. No, really. They do. Solitary
In this segment of So-Called Experts, we're going to discuss this press release that was put out by Caron Treatment Centers on the 19th of June of this year. And the title of the press release is Sex, Drugs, and Alcohol Popular with Some Teens on Online Message Boards. I've invited my good friend Dave Baker to discuss this with me today. We're not really going to be discussing two sides of this issue because we're really kind of on the same side. So it's going to be like two sides of the same side. My position on this is that they are unfairly demonizing the internet.
The core of this article to me is, what are they trying to tell us? What are they trying to sell us? Well, they're selling us the notion that teenagers are talking about sex, drugs, and alcohol on internet message boards and chat rooms. My response would be, duh.
I think the internet can be a very good thing for teens who have questions about these topics, sex, drugs, alcohol. And I don't think it's fair to do a scare story on teens talking about these topics online.
This is a press release. This is not news. It's a press release.
It portrays the internet as being something we should keep our kids away from when they're looking for answers about sex, drugs, and alcohol. When in fact, it's full of really good information, much better information, I would say, than was available to kids, say, when I was a kid. If I had questions about sex, drugs, and alcohol, I could either go to my ill-informed friends, or I could spend a lot of effort and go to the library, or if I was really in a crunch, I might talk to my mom and dad.
And I had a good friend named Mike who had an MG, and I can remember him getting extremely drunk and stoned. He was a big pot smoker, and he ended up trying to drive his MG through a brick wall that just happened to be where he was trying to drive. Wasn't a good moment for Mike. He actually still has the scars from that event. However, we all talked about it. We all called each other. Did you hear what happened to Mike? Oh, did you hear oh, he was way loaded. Oh, he was stoned. Oh, he'd been drinking at so-and-so's house. Oh, what had been drinking? Was it beer? Was it? This was the discussion.
If kids in my generation had the internet, they could have made wiser decisions, more educated decisions about the topics of sex, drugs, and alcohol. For example, when I was in high school, I remember a young sophomore girl coming to school hysterical, and she was a good friend of mine, and I remember talking to her and saying, what's wrong? What's the problem? And she told me that she thought she was pregnant. And, everybody was consoling her and really concerned about her well-being. But as we asked questions, we discovered that her boyfriend had merely put his hands down her pants, and her not knowing exactly how things worked led her to believe that she might be pregnant.
Did they know how many people that were chatting on these boards were actually teens? Do we know what their genders are? Do we know anything about the demographics? Some teens, what does that mean? Some teens really doesn't mean anything except some.
With the internet, anybody who has any questions at all can find out anything and everything. And I think that we need to show our kids where they can find the answers when they're looking for them. Whether it be about sex, whether it be about drugs, whether it be about alcohol. Because kids are going to talk about these things. And a smaller number of those kids are maybe going to engage in these behaviors. And the best that we can hope for is that if they are going to engage in these behaviors, they go into that with the best information possible so they can act as responsible as possible in those situations.
Let's talk a little bit about the so-called experts, which is the name of this segment. This press release, which has been carried as an article in many news outlets, is actually sponsored by Caron Treatment Centers, which is and I'm quoting here from the press release, a nationally recognized nonprofit provider of alcohol and drug addiction treatment. Do you think there's a reason for them to want this to get out there? Do you think there's a reason that an organization that specializes in treating drug problems would sponsor a study about drug problems with teenagers?
Welcome to Living Free, a segment on open source and free software. For this edition of Living Free, I'm going to show you NetworkManager. NetworkManager is software for Linux that makes it easy and intuitive to connect to networks, especially when you're using a laptop. NetworkManager works by taking advantage of dbus in the hardware abstraction layer, or HAL. dbus is a messaging bus that allows programs and services to share information between one another, and HAL provides real-time information about the hardware that's connected to your computer. So by using dbus and HAL, NetworkManager knows when you plug in a network cable or when you insert a wireless card into your PC card slot. And it even knows when a new wireless network is available for you to connect to. So how do you start using NetworkManager? Well, the instructions I'm about to give you are for people using Fedora or Red Hat type distributions, but it's going to be pretty similar no matter what distribution of Linux you're using. First of all, you need to make sure that the NetworkManager package is installed. Now, it is usually installed by default on the latest versions of Fedora. I think Fedora's had it since Fedora Core 3. The first thing you need to do is enable NetworkManager as a service that runs when you boot up the computer. Now you can do this using a graphical application like System Config Services. And then you just go in there and click the NetworkManager checkbox and NetworkManager Dispatcher checkbox. The NetworkManager Dispatcher service allows you to create custom commands that are run when you connect and disconnect from a certain service. And then the other way you can do this is via the command line by using checkconfig. So you can log in as root or use sudo and run checkconfig NetworkManager on, and do the same thing for NetworkManager Dispatcher. Checkconfig NetworkManager Dispatcher on. And then the next thing you want to do is start those services. You can do this, of course, by rebooting, and since the services are now flagged as starting at boot time, they'll start up. Or you can start them right away by doing, as root or with sudo, run service NetworkManager start and service NetworkManager Dispatcher start. As a user, you don't interact directly with NetworkManager. Instead, you use a front-end application like GNOME's NM-Applet or KDE's KNetworkManager. Both of these applications sit in their respective desktop environment's system tray. These front ends let you configure various aspects of the wireless network you're connecting to, such as the SSID and encryption settings. In addition to handling wired and wireless network connections, NetworkManager also has the capability of handling VPN and dial-up connections as well. To show how NetworkManager works in real-world situations, I went to my local McDonald's, where Wi-Fi access is available to customers. With my laptop up and running, I can go down to the NetworkManager applet running in the sys-tray. When I right-click on the sys-tray icon, I can see there are 2 networks that I can connect to. When I select a network, NetworkManager will begin connecting and show progress as it goes. When this is finished, the applet icon changes to show me the signal strength of the network I'm connected to. Now I can use the internet. Well, once I go through their portal,